You've decided you are going to be making games. And not just that, you want to make games and earn money. Lots and lots of money. There are some things you need to do first though. And in this video, I just want to maybe bring you back down to earth a little bit, because making games sounds really cool and you have all of these amazing ideas, but there are, if you want to make money, some business aspects that we should talk about. And that's what I want to do in this video. Just quickly go over some things that you need to keep in mind, some things that you need to plan for before you start working on your first commercial game. So be sure to stick around. Now, let me quickly preface this video for those watching. If you're not planning on making any money, if you just want to make games for fun, make some quick little prototypes here and there, just dibble your toes a bit into the water, then the things in these videos maybe don't apply that much. I'm really talking here from a business standpoint of I'm actually planning on releasing a game down the line and making some money out of it. If you're not making money out of it, I don't care. Do whatever you want. Make your own engine. Have the biggest scope creep game. That's all up to you. However, there are some key things we need to keep in mind if we actually want to turn this game development company, or for example, Whitney Games, into an actual successful business. These are some of the things that we have learned. Either we just knew it before, or most of the times we learned it the hard way when we're later on in the development process of, hey, maybe we should have done this. So the goal here is to just share that with you. The first thing I would suggest that you do is, you've got your game idea, great. Don't start on it yet. What's your price gonna be? How long is it gonna be? And what's gonna be your key selling point? Those are three things that you need to have. You don't have to have them dialed down. You can still tweak them a bit, but this is just in general, you need to keep in mind that making games is a business, and it's your business model. It's basically all going to come down to, am I gonna have a free-to-play with in-game purchases? Am I gonna have a subscription-based game? Am I going to have some regular, like, oh, pay once and you can play it for as long as you want game? These things dictate how is your cash flow going to be. If you have something like subscriptions, you can usually bank on, I have a steady monthly income of X amount of money. But then of course you have the problem of it's harder to market, because generally gamers don't really love having to pull out some money out of their credit card every single month for something. Unless it's World of Warcraft. I don't know, people love playing that one. But that's basically what it comes down to. Have a business plan, but in this case, you don't need to have those, your generic business plan ideas for your cupcake business. Have a good business plan for your game. How many copies do I need to sell at which price in order to fund the development of this game, and maybe also have some leeway into developing our next game, because you won't be making much money whilst you're still developing your first game. Have an idea of how long you're going to be working on that game, and you can start calculating some variables of, I'm gonna need to sell 10,000 units at a certain price of maybe $10 or $15. Keep in mind, if you publish on Steam, 30% of that money already is gone to Steam, another percentage is gone to taxes and VAT and whatever, depending on where you are. So keep those things in mind. Try to figure out what's the amount of money that I want to earn, how much will be deposited to my bank account, and how much should I charge on Steam or another platform for that, for example, to really reach that number that I'm thinking about. The second thing is, you really need to have a dialed in game idea, and not just an idea. Find out what's the value that your game is going to deliver on the market that nobody else has. If it's basically the same game as someone else has released before, without any special value for the player of, for example, a new mechanic that is really going to change the way that things work, or you have some cool NFT integration, although I don't know if I would call it value, but hey, for some people those things are valuable. You need to have these things from day one, because they will be part of your marketing material. They will be your guiding star throughout game development process of what is something that we need to focus on, that we really need to nail. And it's also simply going to be the reason why people buy your game. They usually play it to be entertained, but there are still a lot of subcategories of what kind of entertainment do they want. Do they want something to play with the boys? Do they want to have something fun they can play with the family on Friday evenings, like for example some of the Switch games? Or do they want something that they can really go deep in? That's the kind of value you need to figure out, what will my game provide, and it really needs to be something solid there. This next thing is something that originally we wanted to make a separate video about, but because we're in Belgium, it's really hard for us, and we have viewers from all over the world, we have statistics and stuff, we have a bunch of US and everywhere else. You'll need to do this on your own. You need to research your local laws and regulations. In Belgium, it's a bit of a mess, and I think in most other countries, it's a bit of a mess as well. And it changes everywhere. How are you going to spend money? Technically, you don't need to have a company until you start making money. Of course, having a company earlier can already be good because that's, for example, we are already incorporated, because then we have costs, for example, like when we go to events. A lot of events will actually require that you're a business if you want to be on, for example, something like Gamescom or something like South by Southwest, for example. Of course, making money will probably be a bit harder, and keep in mind that the moment you start your company, first you have your registration costs and you will have to start paying recurring accountant fees for however long you're in development. So you need to find that sweet spot of how long am I going to be making my game? How much runway do I have either from my own savings, or maybe we have some publisher or some investor from somewhere else, and then figure out if it's already worth it to become a company, and if so, what kind of company. You usually have like various forms of limited liability companies, depending on if you're in the US, for example. In Belgium, there's also like 5 different kinds of company you can have depending on your needs and of how much money you have, basically. We're not gonna dive into that one. That's something that simply I need to tell you that you need to look for yourself. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, if you look online, people are always like, get a good accountant, get a good lawyer or whatever. Chances are you don't have the budget. We definitely didn't have the budget. There's a lot of stuff you can do by just spending a few afternoons or evenings, just really Googling every web page you can find, basically finding every single thing until all of the links have basically turned purple of you've already visited this site, and you'll have an idea at least. And generally also, first time you go to an accountant just to ask for information and stuff, at least in Belgium, they're always free, depending maybe on your country, but you won't lose anything there, and they'll also give you some good advice. This next one may sound a bit weird, but it's kind of the fake it till you make it, but more specifically, it's you need to be able to act like an expert in your field and like you've already been working here for 20 years. Does that mean that I want you to change your LinkedIn to say that you've been working at game development ever since the day you were born? No, but you should be able to behave yourself like someone who has, because you'll probably be meeting publishers, you'll be meeting investors, even when working with your accountant, for example, which you will need. You don't want to be that basement dweller guy who really smells, who isn't really a joy to be around, and who doesn't really know how social interaction works. If you want to have a company, you don't need to be extroverted, but you need to be able to talk to people, and you need to be able to convey that, hey, whatever you do, if you give me money, I will take care of it. I will reinvest it in a better product, in a better game, for example. Because at an event, if someone is like, okay, you guys seem like you know what you're doing, I'm gonna buy a key from you guys now, here, I'll give you the money. I expect you, based on how you're behaving, everyone judges everyone in the end, to give them a good experience in return. Even if, for example, you're selling pre-release keys, or if you're with a publisher, you're basically just selling the vision of your game and maybe a very crude demo. You need to be able to act like you are someone who has done this for so many years and you can make games without any worries. You can stress and scream into your pillow as much as you want outside of other people. Don't get me wrong, that's what we do as well probably. But you need to be able to really behave and know when it counts. Invest in that one nice business shirt at least. It will really pay off itself in how other people will think about you. And then lastly, if you really want to make this a business, don't do this on your own. Find someone else, or ideally multiple people, who can join you on this journey. We're also still going to make a full video probably at a later point about how to assemble your own game dev team, what to look for, but I'll give you a quick rundown now. Don't get someone who's similar to you. If you're a programmer, getting another programmer is dumb. Get someone who is basically the opposite of you. If you're a programmer, find someone who's really good at art. That's, you know, the general compliment. If you have multiple people, find someone who's good at music, and find someone who's also maybe, depending on the game, find an extra programmer or find an extra artist. That depends basically, are you having more of a program heavy game or more of an asset heavy game? Usually, if your first games, you want to move a bit more to the programmer side and work with easier assets. I would suggest to be at least with 2, and I think that our balance at 4 people is already maybe a lot, but 2 to 3 people should already be a sweet spot for really cranking out some high quality games. Doing it alone is possible, but as I said before, you need to figure out how much time do I need to survive basically before I want to make money. And if you have to do everything alone, you'll probably have to learn from scratch still a bunch of stuff, because nobody is born knowing how to compose music, how to do 2D art, how to write code, how to do 3D models, and all of the other things, how to manage a business. So find a bunch of people, put them together, and really get everyone aligned on the vision. Yeah, you will need to share your profits. That's the downside, but if you're doing this on your own, I can guarantee you your profits will be much lower than if you're working on a team. There's a lot of extra stuff that you need to do to start a company really, but these are the things that I think are most important. If you want to know a bit more stuff, you can always leave a comment down below if you have a question. But to summarize, basically, first off, figure out how much is your game going to cost and how many copies are you planning on selling and how long do you think your development process is going to be. This is basically going to be your business plan. Don't bother with the other business plan stuff unless you're trying to do some work for hire on the side, but generally try to just focus on making your game. Second, know what makes your game unique and know how that will deliver value to your customer, which in this case will just be your players. Take a look at your local laws and regulations. Even if you don't have money, Google is still free. You can always look onto a bunch of sites, go and talk to an accountant if those are free in your country as well. For the first meeting, basically, they can also give you some advice and you're not forced to stay with them, for example, but they can still give you a good idea. Ideally, talk to multiple if it's free anyway, so you have a bit of a better idea of maybe some people say something that others don't. Be able to act like an expert, feel like an expert, fake it till you make it. Really be able to behave yourself like you're someone who's really skilled at making games and talking to other people. I know as gamers that can be hard sometimes, but if we want to succeed, that is unfortunately one of the things that we'll need to do. And lastly, don't do this alone. Find people who complement you. Don't find the same people as you. Find people who are as different as you, but still have game skills that can really help elevate your game to the next level. If you're new here, we're a group of 4 developers making our own game, Forge Industry. We're releasing in June, and you can also play our demo on Steam Next Fest. So be sure to wishlist us. The link for that will be down below. Apart from that, we also make game dev related content, such as this video, which you just watched, and a bunch of other stuff. If that's something that you think you're interested in, maybe you're a beginning dev yourself, or you just like to know more about the game development process, be sure to subscribe and also maybe give us a like, as it really helps us out, and you get this cool content in return twice a week. And that's about all I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!